Cubit rod composition, part 6. Cubit identity, a full explanation of. Cubits, the Egyptian right angle theorem. I had a good discussion on a cubit rod if it was not in fact a slide rule. I thought I'd highlight the reasonings of why it's not. In doing so, it'll draw a really good geometric picture of cubit rod's dimensional communication, or as stated earlier, Pythagoras on steroids. A slide rule is used primarily for multiplication and division, and also for functions such as exponents, roots, logarithms, and trigonometry. The premise of how slide rules are grasped today and its modern standard is timed in 2 dimensions, on a piece of paper. These measures are basically on a surface of a cube on a sheet of its plane. Slide rules are for converting equated units of different scaled increments along an infinite line, whereas cubit scales are multidimensional lines from one origin. A slide rule would have the same premise as converting these colored line examples. For instance, the orange line, 50 plus 10 plus 12 equals 72. But typically slide rules are not used for addition or subtraction. Since cubit scales are from a fixed origin, you do not slide between its hierarchies because the hierarchies share the same 36-digit cubit value. As defined earlier, cubits and/or digits are a mediator. Let's look at the original intent of populating a base geometric scale. Shown, the vertical square segment dimensionalized at root 648 and 36 subdivisions. These are also the same measures located in the root length squared column of the root table, as well as the portion measures of the rod's top row in an ongoing example of the modernized Babylonian cubit rod. At digit 2, the rod's measure is calibrated to a root 2 lengthness. Here is where the 36-digit cubit value mediates. The hypotenuse is also set in 36 equal increments sharing the same vertical and horizontal measures, setting the rod to square. Now let's energize the rod in geometric properties. Remember, these dimensions are dictorial from the root table as well as the top row of the cubit rod. From the 36 incremented hypotenuse to the 36 incremented diagonal, the digit cubit values are in whole number format. The return leg also shares the same measures of the segment's vertical and horizontal measure, enclosing an Egyptian right angle cubit unit slices set in base root 2. In taking that a step further, the coincident circle is the rod's measure circle form 36-digit cubit value and 10 increments of, 36 also being a degree mediator. To revisit the Egyptian 28-digit rod, it was calibrated to the lunar cycle for tide controls of the Nile. They then converted between the eyes of Horus to the radial 360-degree displayed solar year later adopted by the Babylonians as their 9/9, 4-palm, 36-digit rod of measure. In yet another furthering step, measures in length are not so important as the focus of the mediation of the 36-digit cubit value. By taking the hypotenuse of a cube sized at root 432 length, which is the diameter of its coincident sphere, in right angle increments, the 36-digit cubit value would be the gateway to all these geometries in Platonic solids. Root 432 consists of root 3 lengths of 36 increments. Can you guess what the cube's diagonal would be? 36. The root 3 rod is now 3-dimensionally cubed with performances of the same. This root 3 rod, in conjunction with the base root 2 rod, is the insight into the 3-2 earlier mentioned Pythagorean musical scale. This is at the level at which a slide rule would be applied harmonically, calibrating the math between rods in dimensional space. For instance, a slide of 1.5 increments between the root rods of root 2 and root 3 would be the requirement to unify this ancient matrix. The more and more a person cycles through cubit dimensions, building off the Pythagorean musical scale, the more and more a quantum universe is built, or as Pythagoras put it, musica universalis. Root 3 and these geometric ratios are cast relations to the Bible's cubit and the Torah letters of creation. All sacred numbers was based on cubit geometries, the math of the kings. In a closing note, all numbers calculate down a webbing of geometric wireframe, or in other words, geometry is a calculator of all numeric equations. If you want to find a constant's place of calculation, find its geometric relation, then apply constant plus unit space equals time space, a cubit rod's rule.